Now, indeed, that 2020 is a challenging year for businesses and organizations due to the coronavirus outbreak. Not only it is impacting the lives of people around the world, it is also impacting the global economy locally, global economy and locally. With this outbreak, it really an impact on small business owners. We have seen a lot of small businesses shutting down, offboarding huge number of employees. So what you can do as a leader during these challenging times, as shared by Ms. Giselle, even sharing the overview of their company BCPTU as an example. Okay, a recap on her session was nowadays BCP has becoming a byword. Okay, the unprecedented disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic shook many organizations and businesses globally. So now BCP is now a business necessity. It can no longer be put in the back burner. Okay, business owners have to invest and commit on it. They have to look over, look past the past unusual excuses like it's expensive, we can't afford it. It's the least in our priority. Okay, we are okay for now, but look what happened. They are now gasping for survival. And syempre, dating unexpected happened. So again, a recap, ano ba yung mga steps? Identify, step 1, identify risk assessment. Am I showing my main screen? Okay, yan, para makita nyo ako. Okay, yun, step 1, identify risk assessment. Analyze. Step 2, business impact analysis. Step 3, create strategy and plan development. And then step 4, ano ba yung step 4 natin? Yung sustain, okay? To sustain. All right, so let's move on to our next speaker. I know you've been waiting for our next speaker. Mukhang maraming fans ang ating next speaker. Let's check if our next speaker is here. Can you please put your mic on mute? Paki-unmute. Mr. Awi, are you there?
Yes.
All right, he's here. So though it's lunchtime, please keep your window open. Grab your place, grab your lunch, and while enjoying your sumptuous lunch, and getting your stomach filled in, we will also gonna be feeding your neurons with interesting and beneficial tips and ideas. My team and I have been communicating a lot for over the last 2 weeks with our leadership team, with our operations team, and with our clients. This disruption, COVID-19, has affected our businesses and the speed of decisions we as an organization have made as a result is unprecedented. This time, for almost a 2-decade HR professional, Mr. Christian Awi Villarin will talk more about how to battle communication risk with his topic, leading and communicating through catastrophe. So let's check again if Mr. Awi is here. Would you like to meet your audience and turn on your camera?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon. So let's start. I'm going to introduce Mr. Awi. So Mr. Christian Awi Villarin, an almost a total of 2-decade HR professional, have worked in various industries like hotels, resorts, spa, restaurants, theme park, facilities, and services. His field of excellence includes talent acquisition and retention, labor and employee relations, training and development, and compensation and benefits. His experiences are not limited to spearheading a pre-opening of hotels, change management, strategic planning management, using balanced scorecard, HRS, RIS, integration, vision, VMGO, review, and relaunching, policy formulation, and implementation. Currently, he is employed in Converge ICT Solutions Incorporated, an ICT company that has several affiliates. As HR business partner for regional operations, he oversees the human capital operations in Pampanga, Bataan, Bulacan, Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, Dagupan, Pangasinan, La Union, Baguio, and Bicol region. In 2003, he earned his degree of AB Industrial Psychology at Holy Angel University and was nominated as one of the outstanding College of Arts and Sciences graduate. As he believes, people will always succeed if they love what they do, which is one of his mantras in life, and known for being people-oriented who creates engaging relationship without compromising integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Christian Awi Villarin.
Thank you very much, Jess, for that wonderful introduction. So I hope everyone is enjoying their lunch while they're also listening to me. So I'll just share my file. So I hope you can hear me clearly. Is it clear?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
That's great. So this afternoon, I'm going to talk about leading and communicating during catastrophe. You know, guys, with this pandemic happening around us, it creates a lot of problem and a lot of troubles. So if we won't be able to communicate clearly to our people the direction of the management, we can clearly lead the people in the organization. And this one would clearly create a great catastrophe in the organization. And this afternoon, this is what I'll be talking about. So before we go further, may I invite everyone, I'll give you a minute to go to www.menti.com and you may encode 894754 to describe how you feel right now.
Sir Awi, can you please share your screen so our viewers can see?
Oh, wait. Can you see it now, Jess?
Yet, have you placed the, have you clicked the share screen on the Zoom application?
All right. There you go.
All right.
Can you view it now?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, that's great. So once again, I would like to invite our participants to go to www.menti.com and you may encode 894754 to describe how you feel right now. So I'll give you 30 seconds to do this one. So it's very important for us as leaders to know how our people feels, especially during this pandemic. A lot of problems are arising because simply we do not know how are people doing right now. So it's very important that we should get the chance to get the opportunity to know how our people feels. So I think there's more people. So let's find out. Oh, so these are the words that came in. So, okay, let's wait for more participants to answer. Oh, there are people who are bored at home, definitely. A lot of answers are coming in. A lot of people are excited. Perhaps they are excited to be part of this very engaging activity this afternoon. There are people who are scared to go back to the office. Yes, it is really scary to go back into the office, especially if we don't know the preparation, how our organization, what they are doing to keep our people safe inside the office. There are people who are uncertain. It's really a valid feeling right now. So there are people who are productive. Of course, having this work from home makes you more productive. And I think the work from home scheme is a lot more, it gives us more pressure. There's a lot of things to do for us to be productive. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts regarding this one. So we move forward now. Okay, so your feelings are valid. Going back to the office nowadays is really uncertain, especially if you are not aware of what the preparations of the company to make you safe. So that is where communication comes in. It's very important that we have to clearly communicate to people what preparations are we doing to ensure that they are safe whenever they go back to the office. That's wonderful thing communication can do to people. They could somehow ease the questions. They could give you a feeling of more security because you have communicated the things that you are doing in order to make your people feel safe in the organization. So according to the saying by Peter Drucker, he said that the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. No, nowadays it's very important for us to find out how people feels. It's not because how what are said, it's really actually how people feels. So there are things that we have to consider how people feels. It's important that we have to validate people's feelings. So with that, I'll share with you the communication uh, uh, model, which I'm sure most of the participants are very familiar with. We have, of course, the sender, okay, that usually gives the message to the person sending the encoding and giving the receiver the information. The thing is, the communication doesn't end up there. Just because you were able to say what you want to say, it ends up there. There should be a feedback. But the thing is, it doesn't mean there's a feedback. Communication is always successful. We have to consider there are a lot of barriers why communication isn't successful. And if there is a problem with the communication, it creates catastrophe in the organization. So what are the effective ways to overcome barriers to create an effective communication? So let's check about this one. So how do you, there's this glass in this presentation that you can see. It shows half empty and half full. So there are people who would say this glass is half empty, and there would also be people who will think that this glass is half full. So your perception are both correct. But there are people who would also see that this glass is full. How would that happen? Their perception would be it composed of half water and half oxygen. So essentially what they have said is also the same. Sometimes that is the problem in the organization. It creates chaos whenever we don't agree with a certain point. So people would say this should be half empty. You're correct. People would say this is half full. You're correct as well. And those are people who would say this is half full, and they're also correct. It's a matter of perspective. When we come up with that kind of mindset, in order for us to settle this one, we don't have to fight. What we have to do, at a certain point, we just have to agree that we all disagree in this kind of perception. So that is very important for us to come up with a thought that we agree on a certain point. We agree that we all disagree. Next, emotional barriers. This is one of the the problems in the communication. So when you don't like someone who is talking, you tend to create something at the back of your mind telling you, or you easily disagree with this person. Or if you really, really like this person, no matter what he says, you would always agree to what the person say. We have to remember our emotions should not overrule what is really that we should do. Okay, so what is logical? We have to remember where we are on the heights of our emotions. When we are very, very angry, never ever make a decision. And of course, when you're also on the cloud nine, you're very, very happy, never make any promises. Because of these two things, if we will use our emotions, it will create a problem in the organization. Next, we also have the language barrier. We have to consider a lot of people having different interpretation because of a certain word. If I may share, we are Visaya. Okay, I hope I wouldn't be offending our Visayan community. Visaya could interpret a lot of words. There's an interchanging of letter I and letter E. So the word face could be interpreted in several ways in the Visayan language, or if they talk Tagalog. So when you say face, it can be pronounced by the Visayan saying peace. And when you talk about peace, there's a lot of interpretation. Peace having harmony. When you say peace, it could be the fish that you eat. Peace, this beautiful feast. So there's a different language barriers. It could create barriers whenever we talk of the regions. So just like here in Kapampangan, all right? So when you talk about ebon, ebon means egg, okay? But by simply interchanging the letter, when you say ibon, that's bird. So a language barrier can create so much problem in the organization if we don't talk properly. Next, religious and cultural barriers that we have to be very, very careful. We have to be very sensitive, okay? So there's diversity in the organization. So we have to be sensitive about this one, how other people would interpret certain words. How do we communicate? What are the practices in the organization? So we have to consider the culture and the religious barriers in the communication. And lastly, the biggest problem nowadays is what we call the physical barrier. It's really, really very difficult right now that we are distanced because of this pandemic. A lot of people are just working from home, or there are people who are working in the office. So with this one, we really have to strengthen our communication. With a very poor communication plan, this will create a big chaos in the organization. It's really difficult to lead people if you don't have a very good communication plan. So with this, I would like to ask you again. So what are the top 5 communication tools that you use in your organization? You may go again with menti.com using code 204887. Again, what are the type of communication tools or platforms that you use in your company? Again, I'll give you 30 seconds to do this one, to check out the platforms that you are using in the organization. All right, so let's check your answers. All right, it's going up now. We have various ways, but leading with the race is the email and Messenger and Viber. Again, going up with email and Messenger, the widely used tools. Oh, there you go. Leading on the race, still email. So 20% are using email among the participants, followed by the Messenger, which is accessible. Actually, a lot of people could be reached easily through Messenger because a lot of people are really hooked with their Facebook right now. A lot of people are can be easily reached through Messenger, and it can be followed by the cell phone and landlines, then the Viber. And of course, it will be easy for us to communicate with people if we have reliable internet services. All right. So we have 21 email, 70% messenger. So we'll end up this survey. Thank you so much for participating. Jess, I need some few minutes. I had some problem technically with my presentation. I lost this one.
All right. I'll have to remove your screen sharing.
Yeah, please.
So while our speaker is fixing some technical glitches and issues now, let's have a run through again of the upcoming topics which will be later discussed by our CPHR professionals. So later, this afternoon again, after Mr. Awi Villarin, Mr. Miguel Balansag will be talking about attracting, engaging, and retaining talents during COVID-19. And after that will be Ms. Naila Person Burgos, another CPHR, discussing the HR's role in successful remote team management, and then HR's guide in preparing for the new normal. And then after that, we will be calling again all our speakers to give and share an imparting message to our viewers. So later, let's check kung meron pa tayong enough time to award winners sa ating discount programs para sa next assembly ng CPHR Distant Learning Program. Again, CPHR is a globally recognized certification program for HR leaders and people managers. So for those of you who is interested to know more about this certification program, just go to www.cphrph.com and then you will see all the details. And if you have any questions, so meron kaming system doon to accept your inquiries, and then we'll try to answer your questions. Ayan. So, Mr. Awi, are you good?
30 seconds.
All right, sure. So yun, sige, ganito while Mr. Awi is fixing some technical issues, let's start the mechanics for the DBLP discount coupon. So ano ba ang gagawin natin para mapalanunan itong discount coupon? So I'm gonna be sharing my screen. So please wait para makita niyo yung mechanics ng ating discount coupon. Right? Please wait. Ang kailangan nyo lang gawin is just go to CPHR Philippines Facebook page and then look for our cover video. And then after makapag-open ng cover video, ano ba ang gagawin niyo? Just share the cover video and put some caption. So papakita ko anong caption yung ikakabit niyo. I'm gonna be sharing my screen. Please check kung nakikita niyo yung screen ko. I think loading pa. Medyo mabilis ang ating laptop. Alright, ito. So share the CPHR Philippines Facebook cover video. Set it, of course, on public view para makita namin. And then use the caption, become a CPHR.
Are you an HR professional? Elevate your career.
Become a CPHR. www.cphrph.com and then hashtag CPHR PHRA 2020. So mamaya announce natin yung winners. Again, share our Facebook cover video, yung CPHR Philippines. Set it on public view and then use the caption. Yung mananalo ng 15% discount coupon ay yung magpa-follow lang ng instructions. Incomplete caption will mean to automatic disqualification. So again, share the CPHR Philippines Facebook cover video, set it on public view, use the caption, become a CPHR, www.cphrph.com, hashtag CPHRPHRA2020, and then we'll announce the results. So pwede na kayo mag-start ngayon. Tapos, we will randomly pick the winners ng makapag-share nito. Alright, so...
Alright, Jess, I'm good. Thank you so much for the assistance.
Great.
All right, so thank you so much for being patient with me. I had some technical glitches with my presentation. So what we have in the organization, we have shown a while ago, the most participants have answered that they are using email. Same in the organization, email blast is one of the most effective way to communicate to people. However, we are also considering people who are not or who do not have an access to their email while they are away from the office. So one of the systems that we are using also are the phones. So we have this automated phone system wherein we just send a message, and this automated phone system will relay or send message to all employees. So this is what we are doing. We have the manual call tree and the automated call tree, which we are using to inform our employees. This is very effective because if there is a message that the top management would like to relay to all employees, the call tree is an effective way to communicate to our employees. Of course, if the head of the organization or the CEO would like to relay a message, he relays the message to the HR director, and the HR director cascades the message to the management group, and the management group would relay the information to the staff verbatim. So there is no problem, or it will not create any communication problem, because it is directly what the president or the CEO of the organization have said in his text message can be cascaded down to the employees or to the staff level as is. So this is very important. And of course, we have the automated call tree, just like what we mentioned earlier. We have this system that sends SMS blasts to everyone. What's the difference between the automated call tree and the manual call tree? So it gives you a feeling when this information came from your immediate head. They are trying to reach out to you as if they are telling you, this is the message of the president, and I want you to do this, as cascaded by your immediate head. It's very important. While the general information, we send it through automated call tree. This is also a very important thing, the virtual town hall. And for the last 2 months that we are on this pandemic, we're very happy to hear from our president and CEO himself attending or having this virtual meeting to talk to all personnel. As mentioned earlier by Giselle, our speaker, it's very important that employees would hear from the top management or the CEO himself his direction regarding the organization. And that is very useful because with this communication or with the CEO telling his direction, it will help people to be mobilized. And aside from the virtual meeting conducted by our CEO, there are a series of meetings and virtual town halls that are cascaded and presented by our HR director. It's very good that he was able to transcend his message to people. What is the organizational direction? It's very important that we can put across to people. First, what he usually do, he will talk to the top management, cascade it to the middle management, then cascade it down to all staff level. This is a very effective way of communicating to people because what was said to the top management can be supported both by the middle management and it can be executed by the staff level. It's very important that there is a clear direction on what is going to be communicated so that everyone can easily understand what to do. And of course, we have various tools that we are using, which we have said earlier. We have the messenger, which is very widely used among employees. We have the Viber. Actually, the Viber group, we have created this to our management level. So if there are information, we use this platform to communicate. We also use Google Meet. We also use Zoom as a platform to communicate outside the organization because it is widely used in other organizations, this platform, which is the Zoom. And with the direction of DOLE to monitor the health status of our employees, we also have created our health status. It's a platform wherein you just have to link to go to that link and to update your health status every day instead of the usual that you have to write down on a piece of paper your health status. This is how we communicate to the health and safety department or health and safety office that we are healthy, we are fit to work. So it is very important that this communication or there is this kind of communication in the organization in order for us to prevent the disease from spreading in the office. As said, science shows it is more effective to communicate 7 times to produce better results. And this is really very challenging, guys, because, you know, no matter how you communicate clearly, just like what we have said earlier, there is already a communication coming from the HR director, cascaded from the director's level, group management level, middle management, junior management, down to the staff. Sometimes there are some communication phasing that is happening because of the things I mentioned earlier, the barriers that we experience. So to ensure and to get rid of these barriers, we have to ensure that we have to use all the possible platforms in order for us to cascade and communicate the information to our people. As said, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. That is the usual experience that we get from people. When you send something, when you're telling something, sometimes they do not listen to understand what you are trying to say. They are listening in order for them to give you feedback. Sometimes it's very important that we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the person that is talking. We have to listen. We have to listen with heart. It's very important that we have to absorb what the person is telling us. What does this person wants us to do? Rather than thinking, what am I going to say? How am I gonna answer back to this person talking to me? Because if that is our reaction, if we just listen in order for us to say something, then there will be a bog down or there will be a chaos in our communication. So how do we effectively communicate to people? There are some tips that I could give you. One, we have to convey with clarity. We have to give information clearly. As I mentioned earlier, despite of the information or the way that we challenge our, we send our information to people, sometimes there are people who wouldn't understand what we are trying to say because it's not clear. Sometimes they are vague. We have to consider it's not always the understanding of the other person. It is how we communicate. We have to give clear communication. In our organization, we have devised when we send an information or an instruction or an email, preferably we translate it in Tagalog because we do understand not everyone would clearly understand the instruction in English. So there are people in the organization who would appreciate better the memo or the instruction in Tagalog. So we are doing that to ensure that there is clarity. Next, we have to use standard phraseology. So we don't have to use highfalutin words to look so smart with our communications. Sometimes when we draft our memo, we are thinking, how can we send a memo that the memo itself would look, wow, the person writing this is so brilliant. The person writing this is really eloquent. When we use or when we create a memo, if we are trying to communicate someone, what we have to do, we have to ensure that we use a standard phraseology. Never use the acronyms, just like the SBWS in SSS. So recently they've sent a message to most of our employees telling that there's a technical glitch that happened, and this is all about SBWS. So a lot of people are asked, what is SBWS, SBWS? So this is something that would create chaos in the organization if they don't know what are the standard words that we are using. By the way, SBWS is the Small Business Wage Subsidy, which is a project of SSS to help our people alleviate their financial needs. So again, we have to use standard phraseology to help our people better understand our messages. Next, we have to provide information as required. We have to be very responsive, especially during this time of pandemic. We don't have to wait until tomorrow in order for us to send email. Just like what I've mentioned earlier, it's very effective for us to use emails. It's very effective for us to use this automated call tree where we send a text message to people to give them information of what's happening in the organization. Next, we have to repeat information when needed. Currently, what we are doing with our project, with the health status, every day we have to send information because we've seen there are people who are not logging in, they're forgetting that they have to log in. So we have to empower the project itself. If we communicate on a daily basis, we have seen we're very successful. So we have messages from Monday to Friday reminding people not to forget to log in. And we find it very effective. From approximately 2,800 employees who have registered on the first week, we're able to help them and make them register until Friday. So right now, there are a few number of people who are having a hard time logging in and going to register in that system. But with proper communication and repeating the information, we were able to ensure our target numbers will be registered. And this one, if there is something that you don't understand about the communication or how the memo is being presented, don't worry. Okay, what you have to do, you have to ask the right person. Again, we will always tell our people in the organization that you have to ask your immediate head. Never ask your colleague about a certain information because it's very important that you have to seek your colleague because, your immediate head in order for you to be guided effectively. Next, we have to resolve conflicts constructively and timely. So if you have seen some problems in the communication, it has to be resolved immediately. Otherwise, if you don't resolve this problem, it will create a bigger problem. Just like what we had with this SSS. Last Friday, I received as early as 7 a.m. or around before 7 a.m. So there are people asking me, they receive an information coming from SSS that their SBWS cannot be processed because there is some problem with their bank accounts. So as time goes by, a lot of people sending emails and even the other HR staff were sent some inquiry. So imagine having 2,800 employees sending you message, emails. There's a lot of things that you have to read. So immediately you try to check what really transpired. Inquired the right person to the SSS. It's to SSS organization. We sent an inquiry. What is the text message all about? Then after that, we sent immediately to employees an email anymore because they were informed of what is happening. So I'm about to finish my presentation. So with this, if we can clearly communicate to people what is happening in the organization, this is one way on how we can clearly lead the organization. So if we have an effective communication, one, we will be very quick in solving the problems in the organization. We have a very strong decision making. We can really decide because we can easily get the support of everyone if we can clearly communicate to people. Next, we can become more productive at work because there's no, we don't have to go back, make another instruction if we have effectively communicated something. So we also have, we can be consistent at workflow. We can create a very strong business relation. Sometimes one of the biggest problem in the organization is the internal communication. Sometimes there are people who are aware of an information and there are some who are not. And because of that, there is a problem in the communication. It creates a very poor business relation. Our clients are not satisfied on how we are doing our work because of a very poor communication in the organization. We could also have a better control. Probably with the word control, we can ensure success. Okay, so if we could just clearly communicate to people what we want to do in the organization, we can ensure success in the organization. We can advance professional image. People would easily say that, oh, this organization is very clear. So if there is a clear communication within the organization, you can make people more effective and we can get a better response from our stakeholders. So this is just a quick presentation. I know everyone is having their lunch and I would like to end this presentation by with this quote. Leadership is a way of thinking, a way of acting, and most importantly, a way of communicating. During this pandemic, one of the most important tools as an HR is having a very good communication plan. Otherwise, if we have a very poor communication plan, or if we don't communicate at all, it will create a very chaotic environment in the organization. And that is why HR is here. I think most of the participants are from HR. HR plays a vital role nowadays to ensure that there is a clear communication across all employees. Because without a good communication plan, we will all fail. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something with this short time sharing with you how we can effectively lead our organization through proper communication. Thank you.
All right, so thank you for that. No, again, communication is really vital, no, to our organization, especially in these trying times. Okay, keeping the lines of communication open can be the difference between effectively managing your workforce and having a walkout or work stoppage on your hands, as have been seen at certain processing plants or retail stores as employee frustration has boiled over. No, yung mga frustration nila na-air na yan on television, on their Facebook. No? And syempre mayroon din tayong mga messages, especially sa mga SBWS, yung mga cash benefits from the government. No? It is very important that we make sure that the communication is always accessible. Okay, so companies that have crisis management plans may not have been tested or tested strenuously, which leads to having make decisions on the fly. All right, so thank you for that, Mr. Awi, for sharing your thoughts, ideas, and tips. And we'll see you again later afternoon.
All right.
For your imparting of message. All right, bye.
Thank you.
Okay, let's